Hello and welcome back to the Bookshelf Odyssey. My name is Art, and today I have a little bit of a wrap up of some books I've read in August. I will be doing a Garbogust wrap up video probably next week. Now, you all know that I struggle with reading fantasy. I like some urban fantasy, but other than that, I've really not found a fantasy series that I enjoy or have been even able to get through. I mean, The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit are an exception, but even that, I don't have a deep, passionate, sacred almost love for those books as I do, as some people do. But I came across this book called The Mudpuddle Manual of Natural Magic, and it's part of the Natural Magic series. It's book one. It's written by author Ciara Blume, who I have the fortune to talk to her on my podcast coming up in a couple weeks, I believe. There are so far 3 books in the series. I think the third one is just coming out, and pre-orders are now available. After talking with her about her book, I knew I really wanted to read this. And this book has got to be one of the best fantasy books I've ever read. Nobody is paying me to say that. Nobody sent me a copy of this book to give a review on. What the story is. It takes place in modern times in a world where magic exists. Here's a little bit about what it's about. It says, a murder, a mystery, and a not so overactive imagination. Eccentric heiress Maida Westbrook treasures her peacefully ordinary life in California. Morning strolls along the beach, warm evenings by the fire, and losing herself in her beloved library of myths and legends. Yet Maida can't shake the nagging feeling that there's more to her story than she's been led to believe. Strange and inexplicable occurrences have always surrounded her, dismissed as nothing more than her overactive imagination. When a distant relative mysteriously vanishes, a body is discovered, and Maida's lifelong dream of owning an enchanted bookshop suddenly comes true. She realizes her wild imagination might not have been so far-fetched after all. There's just one hitch. The sentient bookshop has gone into hiding, and it's up to Maida to coax it back. To claim her inheritance, she must step out of her safe, predictable world and embrace a reality where magic is not only real, it's woven into the very fabric of everyday life. That handsome neighbor? He might just be a shapeshifter. And the barista who runs the local cafe? She's likely brewing more than coffee. As Maida unravels the secrets of her past, she's forced to rethink everything she once held true. Saving the bookshop and protecting her newfound magical family will require more courage than she ever thought possible, including risking her heart. Wow, I loved this book. I mean, you had me at a sentient magical bookstore, okay? And it makes it sound like it's almost a murder, like a cozy murder mystery, but it's not so much of a whodunit. It's more in lines with a cozy fantasy. Think of the books by Travis Baldree, like Legends and Lattes, which was another cozy fantasy that I really liked. All I can say is I want more of this. This is good. I like this. What I liked was Maida's introduction into her world. There's secrets she uncovers about her family. Why did they keep her hidden? Why wasn't she allowed to know about magic? All these things are explored along with some very just wonderful characters and some really charming love stories, including between an older couple that the end of the book, I really was tearing up. It was such a beautiful and hopeful ending. And I can't really say more without giving away spoilers. But this, if you like fantasy, but you're not like a fan of the real violent or smutty kind, this is going to be a book you would enjoy. because it's a very clean romance. It's a very clean book. There's no foul language in it or anything like that. I'd feel comfortable letting my kids read this book. Although my kids are actually getting old enough now to handle the more mature themes, but you know what I mean. What else? I would recommend getting the audiobook. I think the text and everything would be fine, but the audiobook actually has 4 different readers for it, so you get voice acting. But it's not like an adaptation. It's the actual book. They just have 4 different readers, including Travis Baldree, who I believe was an audiobook narrator before he became a writer. So a great cast, and the readers really elevated this book for me. So this is going to be one of my favorite books of the year, I know already. I'm looking forward to reading more in the series. Book 2 is already out. It's called The Witch's Catalog of Wonderlust Essentials. And this looks like it's a book about another character mentioned in the story, and it follows her story. So it's like standalone novels set in this world that with some small interconnection. The third book, which is coming out on October 1st, is called The Magpie Oracle of Sense and Serendipity. And I love these titles. These are great. I recommend those books to you. And again, keep an eye out. I'll have an interview with Ciara Blume coming out on, I believe, September 28th. I'm hoping I can get it out by then. So that's one of the books I read in August. I absolutely loved it. It just floored me with how fun it was. And then I read another book I thoroughly enjoyed was The Mystery Guest by Nita Prose. It's book 2 in the Molly the Maid series. These are mysteries set in the Grand Regency Hotel. Follows the main character, Molly, who is possibly a character who's written to be on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum, but I know the author has said she's been kind of vague on purpose for that. But my wife and I had a chance to meet her, Nita Prose, earlier this year when she came to Council Bluffs to the public library. They were having a author guest speaker circuit. So I got to meet Alexander McCall Smith, as well as I've mentioned in the past. And then my wife and I got a chance to meet Nita Prose. At the time, I hadn't read her books, but my wife had, and she raved about them and said, I've got to read these. So I've read 2 of the books so far. I believe there's a novella that's set at Christmas. So I'm definitely going to read that. And then I believe the 3rd and final book in the trilogy is coming out or is out already. If not, it's coming out soon. The Mystery Guest is a great book. It's about a mystery writer comes to the hotel to have a conference, and he's going to make an incredible announcement that's going to shake up everything. And wouldn't you know it, before he could get the announcement out, he died. Was he murdered? Well, yes. But who murdered him? That's the big question. As a series, or a trilogy, I've really enjoyed reading about Molly. She is just a character I am rooting for. She is a character who is content to be a maid. She has such a wonderful, lovely way of viewing the world around her. I started working as a custodian this year, so I find myself saying some of Molly's little Mollyisms, that she says to herself as she cleans. It makes me happy. I love that in her neat and tidy world where she wants everything clean and just so, there's a mystery comes along and she has to solve that. The characters in this one were a lot of fun. I think I like this one even better than the first one, and that first one was very good. So another book that's going to make it to the end of on my best books of the year reading. And then so that's Mystery Guest. And then I read one that wasn't quite as good. It's called The Oath of Office by Marc Cameron. And technically this could have been counted for in Garbogust. It's like a series or a sequel that nobody asked for. I guess I should back up. What this is, it's set in the Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan universe. And if you're familiar with Tom Clancy, he wrote a lot of like political action thrillers, which I find actually very interesting, which I've really found a greater interest in politics over the last couple of years, which is probably why I have so much gray in my beard now. But it follows Jack Ryan, Clancy's character. He eventually becomes the president, and this is like book 28 in this ongoing series they've continued to write after Clancy's death. And different writers will kind of alternate writing books. This one was published back in 2018, and it involved something about Russia wanting to invade Ukraine. There's maybe a pandemic that was going to break out. Let's see, a senator really didn't like the president, and she's trying everything she can do to take him down. Things that wouldn't happen in the normal world, right? Which has happened several times in the Tom Clancy series, where he's kind of written about things that later have happened, although Tom Clancy didn't write this book. Still, I was like, wait, what year was this written? Oh my goodness. There is some interesting parallels there. It was okay. I've been enjoying the audiobooks. The narrator is Scott Bricks, who is a classic audiobook reader. He's great. And it also follows, one of the main characters it follows is Jack's son, Jack Ryan Jr., who is a part of like this black ops off the books kind of operation. It's called The Campus. It's incredibly top secret. Very few people know. I question the legality of such things, and it's the way it's portrayed is that this campus is a good thing because it's been designed and created by Jack Ryan and his friends. And I get that, but I also am thinking about modern day presidents that we've had and thinking how horribly wrong this could go in the hands of the wrong president. In fact, back when the campus was first set up, I remember Jack Ryan, the president, he gave everyone involved, including his own son, presidential pardons just in case they ever got discovered. And I don't know, to me, that's kind of like, ooh, is this even legal? And when I was younger and would read these books, I thought they were, thrilling and very exciting. But the more I know about politics now, the more, I'm not sure I like necessarily what these books are saying about, the role of our military and the power and strength of a president. I don't know. It's making me question things, which is fine. It's a good story. It's exciting. And I think it's great when it makes us question things as well. So I don't know. We'll see. Just to say I am a bit uncomfortable by their very aggressive stance on fighting and what's called the Jack Ryan doctrine, which is basically, speak loudly and carry an even bigger stick. But anyway, but yeah, as that I read that, it was fun. It was probably could have been counted towards Garbogust, but I enjoyed listening to that. I had it on audiobook. It's probably like a 3 or 4 star read. What I'm reading right now, I have tried several times to read different other books, and I just want to read Victorian works right now. That's what I've started coming back to. So as a part of Kate Howe's group, they're reading Our Mutual Friend. And I had already started reading Pickwick Papers when we voted and voted on Our Mutual Friend. So I tried to maybe read both at the same time, and that quickly, it really didn't work. So I'll wait until I get done with Pickwick Papers, and then I'll go on to Our Mutual Friend. But I'm really looking forward to comparing Dickens's first and last full-length novel, and just see if I can see where he's grown in that time frame. But Pickwick Papers is a comic novel. It's very episodic. It follows the adventures of Pickwick and his 3 friends, part of the Pickwick Club. They go around having adventures, and Pickwick gets tangled up in a breach of promise trial and ends up in a debtor's prison for a while, which all sounds kind of bleak, but it's actually very funny. One of the shining characters in this book is, of course, Samuel Weller, who is the Cockney servant of Mr. Pickwick, who is just so funny and so cutting in his wit and comments of the world around him, that one of the things I'm disappointed about is that we don't have more stories with Samuel Weller in them. But we do have an 800-page novel full of all sorts of goodies. So I'm reading Pickwick Papers. It's a reread for me. I've read all of Dickens's novels, but right now I'm really just beginning a rereading journey, or a rereading journey through his novels. And I mean, I'm just going to be on a rotation of Dickens throughout the rest of my life. I'm sure. This is probably the fourth or fifth time I've read Pickwick, and yet I still get more and more out of it. And this time especially, it just, the more I read, the more it becomes uncovered, and it's a blast. So yeah, I guess, but more on Dickens later. I've got some things planned for Victober. I'm going to talk a bit about Dickens, some of my Dickens biographies I'm going to show you, and chat about some of those. I've read quite a few, and some other things planned. I'm going to have some guests on my channel as well. We're going to talk about Victorian books. So I'm looking forward to that. Stay tuned, because I do have a Victober TBR coming out in just a week or two. And then coming up soon, I'll have a Garbogust wrap-up video as well. Talk about the books I read for those reading challenges. Had a lot of fun with that one, including a great cozy mystery and a really fun early Victorian novel, or just predating the Victorian era by just a little bit, involving future science fiction and a resurrected mummy. So stay tuned for that. All right, thanks for watching. Let me know what you're reading in the comments. Are you participating in Victober? Let me know, because we're going to be talking about that here real soon. So until next time, take care. Happy reading.